3, 5.
You're now watching two old farts making noises. Welcome to Canadian Art Today with your host, Paul Constable.
Now I'm hungry for candy canes. I hope you realize that because it's like there's candy canes out of the jar. And Paul, you look very nice. You got coiffed. I like it. Nice. Good look for you.
Yeah, I got a summer look. It's coming on now. I had a bit of heat happening. I got a lot of heat from my kids. Get a haircut. So I said,
there you go. So that's why we're doing these close-ups. I want everyone to see.
You're not allowed to be the old hippie that you always were. Then, Paul, is that what they're saying?
Well, I was looking at a new look, but kids didn't. Nobody liked my new look, so I was just lazy. But actually, it was really nice. It kept my neck warm. I was just like, but now we got it's 40 freaking degrees here, so it's hot.
And for you people trying to convert that into Fahrenheit, that's literally 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So
well, 40 degrees already?
It's 30 degrees Celsius? Well, 30 Celsius, so about 40.
90 degrees. 30, about 90 degrees.
Yeah, we're dealing with 30 degree weather already in May, so it's a burner. Lots of fires going on, and it's hot, hot, hot.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
You can't do much.
Well, welcome back.
You bet. Yep. Yeah, and hope everything's well there, David, with your father-in-law.
I've been. We've been out doing one or two things, and but I think Stephen's been looking after you, and I know you guys had
we've been having issues. We've been having a relationship. Let me put that way.
Yes, we were going to break it to you and the children later. We're going to break it to you and the children later, David. But yes, so
we'll have to do. Yeah, we're going to have to do Yana later. I appreciate that, David. And Stephen. So we'll just. No worries. I wasn't happy with the production and my end. Big yucky.
That's okay. But the good thing is we have a beautiful artist today with her work. And so she is taking the place today, and she'll be live in a couple hours. So everybody will be able to see it and they'll be able to listen to this part of the conversation. So very exciting. And who is our guest? That will be great.
Yeah. We have Deborah Czernecky. She's a plein air artist. Mostly plein air artist from Vancouver, actually from Victoria, and she travels across all of BC doing her plein air painting. With groups and by herself, I guess a little bit, but I guess she has a group of people that she travels with off and on. And I guess she looks at her studio is the big outdoors. That's where she likes to work and live. I mean, this is not as a plein air painter. It sounds so romantic to be able to just go and paint those lovely scenes that you happen to walk by instead of buying pictures or something of the area. You just go and paint. Well, it comes with an awful lot of tenacity, and you've got to put up with an awful lot of wind, weather issues, and bugs, and all kinds of things that can come upon you. And yet, at the last moment, you don't even plan it. But that's all part of that experience. And when people get those kind of little gems and treasures, they have to realize that those little bugs and the mishaps that can happen while you're painting, those are gems. That's what makes it original. You just don't copy stuff like that. That's just, and they're beautiful. You're usually smaller pieces, and we'll just talk to Deborah about her process and her journey, and it's still ongoing. So there she is. How you doing?
Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Deborah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Our pleasure.
No, it's a pleasure having you here. I mean, I've been a plein air painter as well for many years, and I just found a lot of my space. I didn't have a studio in those days, so you either painted at the kitchen table or you painted outside or whatever you could do, and it's a really different type of painting, and I'd like to talk to you about some of that and your experiences. Some of your pictures are amazing, like some of the places you've been. Yeah, you do. can you tell us a little bit about this passion that you have? I mean, really, that is what it is. I think it's a passion.
Yeah, I think you've hit it right on. It is a passion. I mean, and I think part of the passion is I like to get up early and I enjoy the morning light, and then that just kind of gets me going, and I want to get outside. And I also found that I enjoy nature so much, and I enjoy hiking. And I just found with paint to capture the moment, my camera never quite did it. So I was missing something with the camera. And I think what happened is I started sketching and I started adding color, and that just really clicked for me to go out and paint. But Paul, it is a passion.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we kind of get carried away with our passions. I mean,
You didn't get the dishes. You didn't get your dishes done in your housework, right?
No, no. And you do the craziest things too, because as you know, since you've plein air painted, it's about the weather also. And for me, the only, it shouldn't be an obstacle, the weather. And then, like you say, being passionate about it, I can remember one time I was back east, it was minus 30 Celsius, and I was out painting the fishing huts on the frozen water. And I had even invested in a snowmobile suit to keep warm. But I really like now this was a few years ago, but since then, again, the technology with outerwear has come a long way. And I really have to hand it to whoever made those or started producing those hand warmers and foot warmers that you can buy boxes at Costco. I really, whoever that guy is, thank you very much. You've made my life easier.
Yeah, I've dealt with that. The wind is really one of the big things, and probably seasonally some mosquitoes and flies and different things that get in your way. But generally, wind is usually probably, and rain. Well, you're packing up if you're not ready for it. But you paint in oils, correct? Is it oil
Yes,
paint?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm outside oil painting. Sometimes in the studio, I will use acrylic for my underpainting and for the bigger sizes. But it's oil. But with the rain, again, the equipment is incredible. You can get out there. I've invested in a beautiful, huge umbrella, and it's no problem in the rain anymore. Or the back of my car, I have a hatchback, and I'm small enough. I'm 5'3", and I can squeeze into the back of the car quite easily. But the only problem, again, as you probably know, with the umbrella, if that wind comes along, you might be chasing your umbrella.
Or if it's big enough, it might lift you right off the ground.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah. What I invested in 2 years ago was a spray booth, an outdoor spray booth, and it will hold 2 lawn chairs. But basically, it's meant for spraying, say, a park bench outside. If you made a bench, you could put it out, and you sell through Lee Valley Tools. They can buy these tools, and they pop up. They get their graphite rods in them. They slip in. It takes a little while to figure out how to go, but they just kind of pop up. They're kind of a horizontal shelter. They got a screen in the front, and they're all screened around the back so that you're out of the weather, and you can sit there in a cloud of bugs and paint out through this little window. And they folds up and puts in a bag, and you put it in your car. So
wow. What did you call that again? I got to write that down.
It's an actual spray. It's a spray booth.
Spray booth. Okay.
It's like a spray booth. Like it's meant for spraying things so you don't get bugs on like if you're spraying stain or you're staining something, a chair, you can put it inside it, you stain it, then you zip the screen down on the front so no bugs get on in the stain. So then I just repurposed it. I said, well, that'd be great. I can put one or 2 chairs in there, and you can paint looking out, right? So
that's
just stake
good.
it. Just take some. I think they take a tent peg and you peg them down. And I don't know how much wind they can take, but they generally will keep, a light bit of wind off your back. I just find staying a little bit warm really kind of helps quite a bit. Like just keep that wind off my back mostly. And you're right, the fingers do get kind of numbed up, and yeah, there's some kind of things. I remember talking to actually I saw an article on the Olympics one time, the Winter Olympics, and there was a person painting watercolors, and they were actually selling these, people, they were doing gesture drawings of people coming down the hills, sliding and doing skiing events. And they were somewhat getting into trouble because of the Olympic people were all over them, but they added vodka to their water so that they
Oh
could
yeah.
paint watercolor, because it was like -3 or 4. It wasn't real cold, but it was enough that it would freeze up your watercolor paints. And so he was using you
Yeah.
nip your vodka a little bit and then you
There
paint
you
a little
go.
bit. And
Actually, Paul, there's a group that I belong to, and it's called the Canadian Whiskey Painters. And that's what the deal is. So we work in water mediums, and when we have a show, the only way your painting can get into that show, it has to have some whiskey in the water.
not in you, but in the water.
Yeah, well, you know
You
how
gotta
it
stay
goes.
warm. You have to
Yeah,
stay.
yeah.
I know
So,
you're a connoisseur of fine whiskey. There you go. A little bit of
well, I
Scotch.
love my single malts, and I actually have a little flask in my paint bag, and I call it the icebreaker because it comes with two little cups. And sometimes when you're painting with new people, and I'm going to sort of pick on males, the guys never kind of know how to be around you. They're, okay, they're a little uncomfortable, and they're, and they want to talk, but they're a little shy. So I can remember I was in just up island here, in Alert Bay. And Alert Bay is an incredible old fishing village. It's not on Vancouver Island. You have to go to another island. The island is all about ferries out here, taking a ferry somewhere. Anyway, I'm going to mention his name because he's fun. I had joined a group from Alberta, and it was a group that was with Doug Swinton.
Oh yeah.
He's out of Calgary, and he's quite the character. So, anyways, he had brought the Alberta group. I was from, being from BC, so I didn't really know any of these people. I didn't really know him, and he came by and he's like looking, okay, your painting's looking good, and this and that. And then it was the afternoon. Like, I do have a certain standard. You got to wait till late afternoon before you have that first whiskey. And I said to him, "Would you like a?" And I said, "Would you like a whiskey?" And he just stopped and looked at me, and he says, "Now?" And I said, "Yeah, I've got it right here." So I pulled out my little flask, and we had a little whiskey together.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I have always had a theory that if you ever get lost in the woods, get out your paints and start painting, because somebody will show up. And it doesn't matter. I think every plein air painter says it's exactly the same thing. It's like a magnet. I don't know what it is about that.
Yeah.
Do you find that as well? Has that happened?
Yes, that has happened a lot. And what I find, again, because traveling back and forth across Canada, and I had lived back in the Ottawa Valley area, and I find the people from Quebec, going painting in Quebec is utterly amazing. They welcome you with open arms. And it's the farmers that are incredible. So they'll see you on the side of the road and they'll say, "Come on, I got a better vista. Come into my property. I will show you where to go." And I thought, wow, they're really, really friendly and, great great painting stuff. And then one day I heard Monsieur Leblanc phoning his buddy saying, "I've got all the artists here because my place is better than your place. I told you we had a nicer place." So I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
No. So you take your paints with you on your vacation and your holidays and your travels. You take them with you all the time?
I always have a set of paints and
Yeah.
with me. And also in the vehicle, I always have a sketchbook and something.
Maybe
You know,
we'll bring
some,
up that first slide and we'll just see. Let's start some of this stuff and see some of your work.
oh, oh yeah, the daffodils.
We're
Oh, there's my
loading here.
hatchback. Yeah, yeah. That's when the wind is blowing, it's nice to be able to squeeze in the back of that car. So
Yes, you know, it's funny. We work in different spaces. The studio takes on different. I remember in a windstorm like crazy here. It must have been a 40-mile-an-hour wind, and I was ducking down behind the side of the van, and I was painting an oil on gessoed paper, full sheet of what I was looking at, which was fine when I was down low. As soon as I came around, had the hatch up on the back. As soon as I came around the side of this thing, it tore the paper off of the wood that I had taped down and right up on my face. I had paint, wet paint from my face down the whole front of my shirt. And everybody, I was at a retreat and it was just hilarious. Like everybody was laughing. But that's what it can happen. Like just unbelievable things can happen. So
well,
I like you in the van. You can't work on big pieces in there though. You just kind of
no, but I got a nice little pochade box there that holds little boards 5x7.
yeah.
So, you know, that works well. And again, you know, as you know about all the equipment that we have as painters, like I'm sure, actually somebody in this house says you have a bedroom full of art supplies.
Yeah.
And
I
I have
I find it really hard to decide what to take a lot of times because you're if you have really nice weather, you can get larger. But it's a really you take way more than you ever use. That's what I found.
yep, I
And
agree.
and then your vehicle looks like a paint your wagon after a while. It
Yep.
takes on some colors of the day is what I'm saying, I guess, you know, because stuff is flying around. So what do you use to carry your panels with?
I I have a bunch of panel carriers, wooden ones, and they're kind of heavy. And when I fly somewhere, it's a little different. I don't really take hardboard with me. I cut up canvas large
Okay.
enough, and then I tape them on a board when I get to my destination. It depends where you go, because sometimes you don't always have access to an art store. I flew way up north and in a run, and we flew into a place that was the runway was actually gravel and there were no stores, and we also had to really think about our weight too. So taking cut up canvas was great, and it
Yeah.
was flexible and easy to handle.
Yeah, I nipped out quickly to show you what I have a paint box that I use,
Yes.
and it just snaps out. I had to custom build it because I paint sort of 8x10 panels,
Right.
and they just slip in and out. But it was the easiest way to keep it from going all over my vehicle, and I can walk into the field, and you're always trying to customize your easel a little bit. What does it look like? And I ended up painting from the lid of my box as well because I could carry one thing. I flip the lid up and then it pops up so I can prop an 8x10 panel in there. But it's, and I think I must have designed 6 or 8 easels over the years. And some are more cumbersome than others, and some you think are going to work, and some just they're a lot of times they're made out of paint boxes. I think maybe we can come up with another visual to look at here. See what else. See some of the things that you. Here's a lovely piece. Yeah.
Yeah, that's up island here, just past Campbell River. And again, I just find on the coast you have this incredible cloud formation. You get a good vista of the cloud formation, probably just like you do in Saskatoon. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, I always and I was born on the coast in Comox, but you know what I really love the prairie and the light. It's really different than the West Coast light. But when I at the coast, I never painted. I was mostly busy in Art Vancouver and stuff. I just didn't have time to
Fine.
stooge off to the corner and my wife goes to the quilt shop and I go to go someplace else
But
and
you
stooge
know,
around.
I find it interesting, Paul, that you said about the difference in color. And when I moved to the West Coast from Ontario, where we deal with that heat and humidity, and I used
Yeah,
to go up to Georgian Bay and paint up there. And the light had that orange glow and everything, and I thought, oh, the colors were just so warm. And then when moving out here to the island, all of a sudden the color temperature is so different out here. You just don't have those glowing oranges, I find, not here on the coast, maybe the interior of BC. And it's just very cool. The temperature is cool. I
yeah,
mean, these big Douglas firs that we have, they're cold. They're cold colors. And
yeah.
I just find, yeah, the color temperature is different here. And then again, I've painted in Central America, and again, it's a different palette. Your greens are more lush than they are here on the West Coast.
Right. I think that just because of the conifers, they're a deeper green because of winters and the things like
Hmm.
there's something to do with that. And I think also the cloud cover, and you get a lot more fogs and different things that happen, especially on the
Hmm.
island. So you're working through a little bit of a gray filter, a little bit in some of the light is
Yeah.
filtered that way, but it has its own presence. And I think that's part of the magic of the each and every location but it's a challenge to adjust your palette, right? You're constantly adjusting your color palette.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, I've had so many opportunities, or I've been to the Eastern Townships and the Laurentians in the fall, and it's flaming reds and oranges and yellows. Well, you don't get that on the West Coast. So yeah, you are adjusting your palette. And then again, going to the South or Central America on the Pacific side, your your watercolor is different. It's
Right.
warmer compared to up here in the Pacific Northwest. It's really a cold blue.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
very true. And maybe we have a next picture here. We'll just take a look at.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's my 10 in one day.
yeah,
So
I hesitantly put this in because it conjures up strange questions from people. How long does it take you to paint a painting?
oh
I said, well, I did 10 in one day.
yeah,
Now,
but my answer is always when somebody asks me that, well, how long did it take you to do that? I say 30 years.
yeah, that's a standard. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it's understanding that these are the 5x7 or 5x10. So
Hmm.
they're snippets of your day, right? And a lot of times, um, it's advised to do some of it before you get into a larger piece. Uh, and like cloud cover is moving so quick a lot of times, and the light changes so quickly on you. What better way than to knock off 3 or 4 of these things before coffee and try and get the light down,
Hmm.
because you can always come back and work up a bigger one from it. I
Yeah.
think, is that what you kind of do, or are they one-offs? They just
Um, you know, I have no set recipe. Yeah, what you just said, yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll do it the other way too. Again, I guess it depends on my mood, or maybe it depends what I see and how I'm going to, what
yeah,
is the best path to take. But those were done on Gabriola Island, and I think I was with two other artists, and we started at 6 o'clock that morning.
yeah.
And I had made the suggestion, why don't we just try this 10 in one day? Because I had read about it too. So, and I said, but let's just go small. because I think with small and a big brush, it just goes a lot quicker.
It makes you make decisions for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got a time frame, and I find this. I think probably my better is probably I can do about 4 or 5 8x10s in a day.
Okay.
That's a long day, and I'm pooped by the end of that. But I'm finding that when you do the little ones, they tend to be you've got a short time frame, and you got to do a lot of work in a short time. So in other words, say you've spent a lot of money traveling to get someplace, weather's closing in on you, you got all these little things. So how do I capture as much as I can without taking photographs of what I am doing? And you're right, you did the right thing. Get the size down and get the color. And I mean, you can move rocks around in shapes, but if you got to capture that light in that moment, I think that's key. Yeah, maybe we have another slide here so we can just see what's going. The next one. Yeah, this is a lovely piece.
Okay, that's up in north of Campbell River, and it's called Browns Bay. And yeah, that was it was a there was about 2 other artists. We had spent a week up in that area, and it's sort of like on the inside passage. So the beauty about that was seeing also all the ships pass by. And then the other side is just down the road, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of nice to, yeah.
Beach.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of nice. I know you do that quite a bit where you show what you've been painting and line it up with the, what is there in the background, and you try to get somewhat, takes on the same kind of shape and I guess the perspective of the area, right? Horizon line and the rock structure that might be part of that rock in the background that you would see behind the image. And I think it gives people a semblance of how you see things. They start saying, well, I don't see that rock and I didn't do that. But I think that's about choices as well. Do you find that some of them have actually wanted to purchase from you while you're painting?
Oh, yeah. And so, yes, I've had sometimes you try to tell a person that you would like to take it home and varnish it for them, but they're too excited. They want it right now. And so I have sort of I don't want to miss that opportunity in giving a painting a home. I always like when paintings find homes. So what I do is I quickly sign it and I give them a card, and usually they're not too far away. And I said, okay, it's very wet, but it's going to dry. And when it dries, it's going to dry a little duller because it needs some varnish. So you're going to have to come back to my studio for me to varnish it. And they're pretty good. And what's great is I'm so fortunate because I have a studio gallery at home. So when they bring the painting back to my studio, they wander around the gallery and look at other paintings, and sometimes more paintings find homes.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's a great, and I won't call it a ploy, but that's a great, is it a great reason to come back? And, so many people are afraid a lot of times of going into an art gallery. They're feeling that the director of the gallery will be, like a bad salesman is hitting on them, trying to buy something that they necessarily don't want yet. And they want time to discover stuff. But when they invest in a little small piece, it's not a huge amount of money. And the thing is, they get to learn to love it. And when they come back to your studio, they're almost pre-sold. I always had a saying, if somebody, like with a car dealership, if a person walks into the car dealership, they're already 50% sold because they're already looking. And I think the same is if you can do that and you set up a rapport with them, you've made a comfort zone for them and they will become a long-term client of yours. I would think. Yeah. That's the magic of it. But I think, and it's great that you can let them go. I mean, there's how many of them can you keep and love forever, right? It's sort of like they stack up, right?
Yeah,
and
they stack up fast, especially I try to get out 3 times a week.
Holy smokes.
So they stack up real fast. And there's, of course, there's a lot of duds that I keep my duds because there still is something worthwhile in them. And what I've gotten into doing too is cropping the boards of the
Yeah.
sections I like, and I just keep them as studies,
Right.
for future reference.
Right.
But
I
just
find
quickly,
yeah. I find with mine, with the 8x10s, they fit nicely into, those paper sleeves you used to use for binders with the plastic
yeah,
sleeving. And that's what I use all my big old D-ring binders for. I archive and I put all the panels. That way, if somebody comes in, they can flip through them and they just look through the plastic sleeves and they protect them and I put them on the shelf. So
yeah.
at least they're accessible. But I think, would you advise people, like if they're plein air painting, to paint standard sizes, or what size would be an advised size if they're just starting out?
Okay, starting out, I would say standard sizes. It's just, again, if you if you do one that you feel like to frame, we all know the framing world can be quite expensive. But another thing too I've suggested to do is just buy those deep, like, to me it's the in thing right now seems to be a lot of the deep cradle
Panels.
panels that are out there. And I get it, contemporary look, and maybe even the painting will be better without that frame. But one thing I've done too is with the standard sizes, and if sometimes I just glue it right on those deep cradle panels, so I don't deal
Yeah.
with the framing at all.
Yeah,
And
the panels, they come like they're $10-12, so you really can't buy a frame for $10-12.
no,
Especially if you're painting on a panel which has to have a frame and be released by something so you can take a look at it, and it's got to have a wire on it. So I think I've had friends that will paint on the inside of a panel as well, and
yeah.
then they float mount the panel that they
Oh,
paint inside of it, so it kind of gives it a frame look. So
yeah. I
different
find
things.
I find artists have really gotten creative in how to frame, like you just said about putting the painting inside the panel, and I've actually seen, and I thought this was quite brilliant from this one plein air artist, taking a big cradle panel and mounting 4 sketches in it. It looked incredible.
Yeah. Well,
So,
we got to be, you don't want to be beat up by when the framing costs more than your work, and that's what that's what
yeah,
happens a lot of
yeah,
times.
that happens.
It
Yeah.
gets out, and you end up paying full retail for them, usually with
Hmm.
framing, and it's tough to sell just to break even on your framing costs. You don't want to be selling work to pay for framing. That's just
No, no.
so, but it's hard to sell to some people when they pay their money. They want it finished that they can put it on their wall. So I understand that.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times they'll listen to your suggestions, and they'll come back in a week, and maybe you'll put something together for them. So
Mhm.
it works out a lot of times. We have another slide here. Sorry, David. Let's see what's going on. There we go. Another
Oh,
one. This
the
is a
oldest.
lovely thing.
Thank you. That's over actually at Royal Roads University because it used to be they have a castle there, and the history of it was one of the first lieutenant governors of BC built this castle for his wife and daughters.
Hmm.
And it was also sustainable farming was happening on. Anyway, so that's about a 15-minute walk from my place to have this. Again, I call this big, beautiful campus. It's in my backyard.
Yeah.
And it comes with a Japanese garden and a rose garden. And then before it became a public or a private university, it was a military university.
Okay.
So they kept up the grounds and everything. But and next door is that nice old forest. So we have the sort of the ancient forest right
Yeah.
there too.
Yeah.
But
So I like it. You've got a bit of a warmer light on it, and it was
Mhm.
kind of cool in the background what you're looking at, and it's got a
Yeah.
it. You know where you are, but what I like about, which is really hard with plein air painting, is to focus on what is the most important thing to paint. You go in there because you've got two eyes that see peripherally, and you've
Yep.
got to get people to focus in more on what is the most, and why did I pull my vehicle over? Why did I stop here? What is the most important reason why I did it? And it's not everything. It can't be. It has to be. And your little panel forces you to see in the right proportions as to, like if you got an 8x10 format or a 5x7, you're not going to put a huge 4-to-1 relationship painting in there unless you're going to do multiple panels side by side.
Yeah.
So, so you find that difficult, that you go through sometimes and focus on really what do you do to tell yourself to do that? Do you have a finder that you can look through?
I use a viewfinder. I find those viewfinders just make my life a lot easier. And
Yeah.
also too with the viewfinder, because that gray one you can buy, you can adjust it right away to the size the panel the size of the panel you're going to do. So you can, is it a 8x10 or is it 11x14? So you can slide it up and down and figure it out. But another really good thing that I do if I'm kind of trying to figure it out is I do a thumbnail. And those little thumbnails really, you
Yeah.
get it right away. No, that's not gonna work. And I keep the thumbnails very, very simple.
Yeah.
And I try in the thumbnail no more than 3 to 5 shapes.
Yeah. I've tried to teach that to some people. It's really hard. They just want to get in with the paint. They just want to start painting. And they say, no, back up. You got to do the little, like you said, do 4 little thumbnail sketches and then
Mhm.
find out where you're going. They said, you'll waste less paint, less
Exactly.
time. And I said, you'll be happier with the piece at the other end because you
Yeah.
figured out some things before you just you're just excited. You just want to do it. I know, I've been there. And you said, oh no, stop, slow down. Just do the little quick grayscale and then get to work. I said, you'll be a lot happier at the other end. Yeah. I think I've got I don't know if I've got access to it here. I had built a little, like a proportion sliding thing just with mat board. The mat board that slides in and out.
Yeah.
And the same thing. And I usually give them out when I had a workshop to students that they can use, and I try to explain to them that you don't have to paint everything.
No.
And if you want to move a tree, you can move a tree. You don't have. You don't. There's no rule that it has to look exactly like that. I said that's it. Sure. And it's a tough thing to tell a new painter or a student that. He said it's your painting, and it's
Exactly.
yeah.
But
I have another slide here, David, and we'll see what we got going here.
oh yes, it's spring runoff. That's a farm that's not too far. Again, it's about a 10-minute drive from here. And again, okay, you know how it is with plein air painting. Number one is road safety. And, you know, and you can be really creative in our parking techniques too.
Yeah.
So, but you've got to watch. So this one was done off the side of the road, and there was a good shoulder there that was about 4 feet. And I find here on the island in that we don't have the luxuries of the big shoulders like you do in the east
Yeah.
because we don't have snow or that much snow. So we don't have the big snow plows going through to shove the snow onto the shoulder. So painting here on the island, for a plein air painter, the biggest thing is being able to pull over and be safe.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you put stanchions out like behind your vehicle as well?
Mm-hmm.
Like the cautionary ones? Yeah.
Oh
No.
yeah. Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
I really pay attention where I park and that. And again, it's always interesting in sometimes the places you go when you pull over and you think you're all by yourself, and one situation, I was painting somewhere in Quebec in the Laurentians, and I was with two other artists. It always seems to be in threes, and we could hear the roar of motorcycles. And I thought, oh, right, this is gang country. And I know it was the bad group was coming through. And all I could think in the back of my head, just keep driving. You're not going to stop. You guys are good. Oh no, all 40 bikers stopped with their big vest and everything. And of course, it's three women, and we're looking at them and we're going, okay. And it was so funny because even with this club, their mother painted, or their grandmother painted, or their kids were interested in art, and we all had a lovely chat, and then they drove off into the sunset, all 40 of them.
Yeah, they're just
Yeah.
big boys. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, you probably intimidated them quite a bit, so they just moved on. Well, it's one thing, definitely. Be careful, when you do this, to go in groups a little bit if you can. Painting individually is something that, especially in an area that is, like you said, on a roadside, if you get hurt, who's going to help you, right? It's like, if something, you could slip and fall down the edge of the road, not necessarily hit by another vehicle, but and also you said you come upon people that don't know you, and you don't know them, and you have to be safe. You can't just go out and it's this lovely day and go and paint. Sometimes you have to think about the whole picture as
yes.
as big as you can.
And also to think about the wildlife. Like, I've encountered wildlife, and bears are big. And
Do they stop and look at your painting?
I'm gone. Even beavers can be nasty. And I never, we always have this nice furry animal attitude. Well, beavers have big orange teeth. And if they're in a bad mood, they're going to chase you.
Yeah.
I speak from experience.
Yeah. Well, they want to chew the leg off of your easel.
Yeah.
Probably. Maybe we'll have another image here, David. Put another one up. We'll just go through these. And it's a lovely picture. Here we go.
Okay, again, that's up island. And believe it or not, that's when that day was full of smoke, and maybe it wasn't such a good idea to be out there in all that bad air, but that was done up in Strathcona Park, and the smoke was just filtering right down the valley there. But us plein air painters, we're here, let's paint.
Yeah. That's right.
We have that attitude. I drove all this way, I'm not going home without a painting.
You could have wore your H1 mask, I guess. You could have a little bit. Painting outside in the smoke. We've had some huge smoke fires here, and sunsets have been amazingly dramatic. Like, you felt like you're in a Monet painting.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these things are just unbelievable sunsets. But because of the smoke, some of it's a bit like looking through a beer bottle. Like, it's just that orange. It's terrible. Yeah, it's got to be hard on your breathing for sure. But we'll bring up another one here, David. I think we've got a few more left. I'd like people to see them.
This sugar shack. This is a sugar shack that's in the eastern townships near Sutton. And what I find is all these incredible old buildings and old ships are disappearing. Like, this sugar shack is gone now. And when you know the story, that sugar shack, I think, was built in the early 1900s, and the family that came to that area, it was a hard land to farm. But the new sugar shacks, for me as an artist, just don't have that charm, because when I look at this sugar shack, I can see the hardship of getting that maple sugar going and everything. And again, the weather in that part of Quebec, they have a lot of snow, and transportation was a big problem and everything. But not too many of them left.
So the song Sugar Shack go through your head when you're painting this a little bit?
Oh, of course. Of course.
You remember that song? No, yeah, everybody remembers Sugar
Yeah,
Shack.
not too many. I'm not a very good singer, so I'm not going to sing it.
No, don't sing it. No, we're good. Okay, we'll have another one here, David. We'll just try and stay on schedule here.
Oh,
Maybe get another image up. There we go.
yeah. So that's just in one of the local parks, and again, that was, yeah. Oh, that was in March. Yeah, it was already pretty dry, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's lovely. No, it's a lovely color palette, though. You're dealing, when you look in the background, you're looking at a lot of ochres, and there's the darker blacks, grays of the rock, and some foliage on the trees. But it's it can be stark, I guess, at times.
Yeah,
But again, you're focusing on, what do I like? Why did I stop there?
yeah,
And it's you can't paint everything, and you've actually turned a vertical panel, right? You
yeah,
decided to paint vertically on this one. The other ones, I think, were mostly horizontals, but
yeah.
it no, it's a lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, well,
But I like what, again, color theory and thinking about complementaries and that. And as well as I know of, you can take the picture and then it's fine, but paint just, I don't know. It adds it adds another dimension to the image.
yeah. So do you work with an undercolor, or do you just paint directly onto white?
No, I always do with an undercolor. I learned my lesson a long time ago. I find it for me, if I leave it white, sometimes that white comes through. I forgot to put the color on it, and it just doesn't look. It's an amateur. It's what I call an amateur move. And I usually do my underpaintings. My favorites right now is, you know how it is. We evolve, we change as we go along. Is the gold yellow ochre or the opera pink, a real kind of hot pink,
Yeah,
and or then just my favorite sienna or
yeah,
even an ultramarine blue. I kind of
yeah.
stick to those.
Yeah, the siennas. I have one friend that she paints a lot of florals, and she actually painted on black background. She
Oh
black
yeah,
gessos everything, and then she works up her stuff from there. And you would never know there's black underneath it,
yeah.
but she usually bought the black gesso, and she'd gesso them, and she just worked directly on that. But black was always they gave me the willies. I always thought I had to paint Elvis Presley or something. I just didn't
Yeah,
want to do it.
I think about black velvet paintings.
Yeah, that's it.
I know.
Yeah, well, you could have your van set up. You could sell rugs and carpets to the side of it when you have it pulled over as well.
Yeah.
But
Oh, no.
no, so you guys have. It sounds like you sent me a clip, and we just couldn't play it because of the way it was. But it sounds like you guys have a lot of fun out there when you're
Oh,
painting.
yeah. Well, you try to find a good group. That group, we've been together 13 years, the clip I sent you. And I find that when you have a nice little group to go out with, it's not competitive or anything. You're there to help each other. And, again, even though you've done the thumbnail in the viewfinder, you've got this big scene out there, and one of your partners in crime might come over and just make a casual remark saying, "Oh, that's kind of interesting. Wouldn't that be, that, yeah, we always say, is that kind of interesting? Maybe it would be better a little smaller, or your horizon line is not straight because you
Yeah,
haven't stepped back enough to realize it, or you're so involved, you're fixated on a certain part, and you forgot to clean up that other part. And sometimes I just find painting with others is good fun, but also constructive criticism comes your way too.
yeah. I kind of cautiously look at some of that as well, but I let people kind of discover their own thing while
Hmm.
they're, because you're in a moment of discovery right there. It's really
Yes.
hard to do a major recorrection of a work rather than say, let me finish this one, I'll do another one. And
Yeah.
sometimes one person is too zealous in helping you.
Yeah.
You might as well just pull a chair up and a scotch, and they can just sit there and help you.
Well, that's how you have to be very selective on who you go out with. Like I try to go out with like-minded people. Everybody pretty casual, and
Probably depends on the day as well. If it's raining out or drizzling, certain people are willing to go and other ones are not. And
no, yeah.
So the hardcore ones are right with you all the way. Let's got another way. I don't know. We must have it out. There we go. There's you. This is
That's
boy. Does everybody want to be with you on that one for sure?
yeah. There's been a few. Yeah, that was fun. I ended up going with another artist, and thank God we got to stay. We were very fortunate because we stayed with her family over there. And it's always nice to have those connections because they know where to go. And and again, the Italians, oh, it's art. You know, they'll come and they'll chat with you, and I find I have a little trick because I enjoy talking to people, but you know as well as I know, Paul, you got that light on the wall and you want to get it, and they're talking to you and you're trying to be kind, and it's great people are talking to you. And so what I do is a little sneaky. I put my paintbrush in my mouth. One paintbrush, and I go, and I can kind of zone them out, and I keep going, so nobody knows what I'm really saying, and nobody is insulted, and then, they kind of wander away, and I can carry on painting. I mean, but I love telling people what I'm doing and what I'm seeing, but sometimes I have to get that, the light is moving, and I want to get that light in there, so that's my little.
Yeah, you just need to have a T-shirt made that says "Come back in 15 minutes."
Yeah, Or you get that one where you just started, and for me, when I just start, it looks horrible.
Yeah,
and people are kind of looking at you like, "Oh, you're a real
you're
beginner,
bad.
huh?"
You're a terrible painter, aren't you?
You're oh.
Yeah, I get that all the time. They look and you're painting something completely different, and you're looking at a scene, and they're looking like you, and they get behind you, and they're looking. You say, "That doesn't look like that at all. What the hell are you doing?"
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. You could have fun with certain people on the street, and in some, I think those are the joys of the moment. I find when you paint on location, especially on holidays, you remember way more about those days and moments than if you're just to take a snapshot, because you're concentrated on that building, that light, and even the people coming around. You said, if you would have taken a photograph of it, you move on, right? Like a tourist, and you really haven't sat down. So when you can, an artist, it's a privilege to be an artist like that. When you're able to go on a trip like that, and people allow you time to paint their local scenes and buildings and architecture, and they let you do that. You can just be. It's a great gift to be able to allow it to do that. And I think anybody can draw and paint. They just have to, the more you do, the better you get.
But
that was a
Paul,
great. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, you're right. Every time I look at one of my plein air sketches, and I don't know, there they are.
Yeah.
I can go right back to that day and tell you exactly where it was and who I was with and the memory of that day. I'd probably even tell you what I had for lunch.
Peanut butter sandwich. Everybody.
Yeah.
Well, Deborah, I have one quick question. Paul already knows what it is because I ask everybody the same thing. I know.
Okay. Uh-oh.
It's not that bad, but I think you missed. So just all right. So what I was going to ask you was, if somebody wants to buy some of your artwork, what are the ranges of prices from the 5x7s up to the big pieces?
From 100 to 3,000.
There you go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Deborah's
Canadian
also
dollars.
has all is that Canadian dollars? So it's make believe money. It's like
That's-
$6 US. So we're good.
Yeah.
So
That's Canadian.
But
And her links will be
Deborah, I love your art, and
Yeah,
so
you can see it on
also
her
ship
list.
all over the world as well. I take it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
You also ship your artwork all over the globe.
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay,
Yeah, there you go.
So-
that's
Yeah, her stuff's available. You can see it on her website as well.
which right below us.
Yeah, it's on the comments there. She's also part of Artists in Canada, and she can be reached through Artists in Canada as well.
Yes.
There you go.
Well, thank you, Deborah. I appreciate that very much. It was great,
Yeah.
great to learn all about your journey and stuff. I mean, we'll probably have to do this again. I mean, there's always so much to talk about, and I love talking to artists and how their experiences are and doing things that they love to do. Thank you again.
Well, thank you for
Thank you.
having me.
It's a pleasure.
Alright.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah,
ciao.
good.
Bye guys.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody, and leave your comments below.